Woo, these cucumber condom thingies, they're really great for my eyelids. Welcome to today's show. I am Zaddy, multimillionaire, and I got hoes in different area codes. And tonight, we have a panel of esteemed sexperts. And we're going to start on my right with
Baby doll.
Miss Kitty.
Sweet cheeks.
And tonight we're going to talk about paranormal activities, and obviously I pair up with a whole bunch of people across different area codes, so we're going to get that started. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show. Today, we have the show being sponsored by Monarch Health Services. You go to their website at www.monarchhealth.org, or you can call them at 561-523-4589. They provide free STI, STD screening, free PrEP services. Also, if you are living with HIV, they have care services that can help you link to care and provide you with treatment. So reach out to them if you have a need, if you know someone. Also, go onto our Facebook page, Monarch Health Services, like, share, and subscribe. And tag a couple of friends and have them like the page, and they could win a Sex in the Dark t-shirt.
And we have a raffle at the end for a gift card as well for that listener who's been tuning in all week with us. Get ready to answer the question, and we will send you that gift card.
All right. So, paranormal.
Yes, Zaddy, tell us.
Let's talk about something. Like I said, I got multiple hoes in different area codes.
How many? Like, if we had to quantify.
I'm a multimillionaire.
Okay, so
I travel the world regularly, and I need to be taken care of.
One in every county
of
every state.
Sometimes I need a little French. Bienvenue dans ma chambre.
Oh.
Sometimes I need
Parlez-vous français?
Oh.
Look at you.
Sometimes you get a little Espanol.
Okay.
It just depends on what flame you're into for that night.
Okay.
Viviendo la vida loca. And so, speaking of all your hoes, do you partake in your hoes at the same time? Talking threesomes.
Of course.
Orgies.
And I always switch the condoms with each one.
How esteemed of you.
I'm not trying to
Health
get
safety first.
Of course, I have a private nurse. You know, I keep on the payroll
Okay.
because I don't like going, unless
So-
I do that.
Are these relationships monogamous, or is it like a polyamory situation?
Well, I go, they come, I leave some cash.
Excuse me.
Need cash?
Yeah. You're interested in being part of my payroll?
Well, I do need a job.
Maybe we should tell our listeners a little bit more about, monogamy, threesomes, and polyamory.
Let's talk about that. That's foreign to me.
Okay.
What is monogamy?
So you just put the cash down and go.
I'm just saying, I guess what I like.
Okay, gotcha. Sweet Cheeks, tell everybody what you, as a sexpert, are used to hearing about some of these monogamous relationships and some of the polyamorous relationships.
Well, I guess it's more so because some people think they're in a monogamous relationship and don't really know that they're not in a monogamous relationship because their significant other has a side chick or a
A little
side,
something.
a little booty call on the side.
Oh,
probably one of the ones I'm paying right now.
And also as well, did you know that 1 in 10 women have had sorry, my face is all messed up. Preliminary relationships. Am I saying that right?
Polyamory.
There you go.
There we go.
Tongue tied.
What
Out
else
of 1
got
in
tied
10
up?
women. Yes, 1 in 10 women has had a relationship where they know that they're sharing a partner.
Now, do you think that the other women or males are aware that there is some sharing going on? Do you think it's open communication?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. I do. I believe because some people enjoy it. Some people want to watch their partner be dominated by another partner. They don't have the sexual satisfaction of actually being in a sex relationship. They just want to watch it.
Communication is
Voyeurism.
lubrication, right?
Is that being a voyeur?
Communication is lubrication.
There we
This
go.
is a fact.
Communication is lubrication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk
You
to
know.
me, honey.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Well,
Talk to me.
I'm gonna have to like text Keisha right now and tell her
Okay.
that, baby doll, you coming home with me?
I'm actually busy. So.
She's already booked for the evening.
Yeah, I'm booked for the
That's
evening.
about to change her
Fully.
when she see these dollars in this bank account.
I mean, you have to think about it with some of these threesomes and orgies and polyamorous relationships. How frequent you said 1 in 10?
1 in 10 women.
But yet it seems like it's something that's always being discussed in monogamous relationships. Like, oh, would you be interested? Have you been?
Right.
Would you like to? Let's go
Right.
unicorn hunting.
Right, exactly.
That's true. That's true. Some people probably want to experiment but are scared to venture out because they don't want that person to like love them less.
So confidence and
Yeah,
security.
confidence. It's all about security and confidence within your relationship with that person.
I think
Gotcha.
some people just don't want other people to have what they have, especially if it's good.
Amen.
That's
Amen.
true.
That's true. And I
Because
think
then
that
you start thinking about like if he's out there doing something. Oh well, she getting the same loving I'm getting, the same.
Can't have that.
Same. Put your ankle behind your neck, swinging from the chandelier.
Not from the chandelier.
Well, some people also see it as like security. So let's say, well, the Muslim community, like if a man has multiple wives, they don't see it as, oh, that's the other woman. They see it as that's another mom. So if they have like kids, they share the kids. They teach the kids. It's a community for them,
Gotcha.
not really a like, oh, I'm in love with him. You're in love with him. No, it's a community of teaching and growing with the kids differently.
Within the culture.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a
That's
really
an
interesting perspective.
view. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. I mean, don't Mormon also have
I don't know.
many wives?
Baby doll, would you be
Baby
willing
doll,
to
you
share
know?
with Keisha tonight?
You want to get down? Sharing is caring, right?
sharing is
I mean,
caring.
I got
It's
left
true,
balls
but I'm
and
just
a right
afraid.
ball.
I'm just afraid that Keisha and I are gonna run away together, which is actually something
Oh.
that tends
I'm
to
into
happen.
watching that too.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. But when it comes to unicorn hunting, coming back to that, a lot of the time, it'll be, let's say, it's a heterosexual relationship. So it's a male and a female, and the male will usually prompt, oh, how about we go exploring and we go find another woman to play with. And so what ends up happening more often than not is that the two women will end up forming a relationship, and they will end up liking each other more. And then the husband or the partner in the relationship will grow jealous. So that's actually kind of a common thing.
Yeah.
Baby
Wow.
doll, have you ever had a threesome?
I have had a threesome before.
She speaks from experience.
Inquiring minds.
You
wanna
have
know.
sexperts on this panel.
I know.
Now that's,
I'm just assessing the real skills.
I guess the next part is like with unicorn hunting. Who's been hunting
We
and
have
who
a-
has been hunted?
Oh, 1 second before you answer that. We have a question from our live viewers out there. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please ask them in the comment section, and we will do our best to get them answered on air. one of the question was, what is unicorn hunting?
So I think that you, speaking from Miss Kitty,
Yes.
speaking from personal
Yes.
experience, I think that you
Miss
should
Kitty
touch on this.
has been approached by individuals who are in relationships who have wanted to recruit me to participate in part of their threesomes. And so that is unicorn hunting, looking for that individual or individuals to participate in your sexual activities.
Yes. That
So-
specifically don't have an interest in becoming attached
Yes.
to the relationship. So it's like the perfect.
Sort of like swinging, but just not at the swing spot.
Not at the playground.
But even with swinging can go into people forming relationships and being, kind of repeat swingers with the same individuals. With unicorn hunting, it's kind of like a one and done type situation. Like, oh, you were out of town and you got approached and you're never going to see these people again. Why not?
Right.
I mean, I guess there are rules to different types of relationships. So if you and your partner can sit down and come up with rules for your relationships and have fun with it, whatever, then by all means. I think the problem comes in because people want to do their individual things without the other person knowing. And then that's when stuff starts falling apart. And that's built on the fact that people want to have their cake and eat it, but they don't want the other person to have cake and eat it. So it's cheating is very selfish.
Yes.
That's sad. So back to my question. Who here has been hunting and who has been hunted?
I've never went hunting, and I've never been hunted, so I'm good on that.
Okay, Zaddy,
I don't understand what hunting and hunted mean.
have you and your many hoes in different area codes ever together looked for another party to take place?
Oh,
in
of
your
course.
Okay, so you have hunted.
And being hunted.
Gotcha. You've went hunting and you've been hunted. I've definitely been hunted.
Oh, can you expand on that? Did you pursue them?
I didn't pursue them. They actually wait, I said hunted, right?
Yeah.
Yes, hunted.
yes.
I was out of town and a lovely looking couple approached me and kind of started with the drinking and the conversations and just made it very clear that, they were interested in having a great time for the night and would I care to join?
Did you join?
I didn't join. I was very young and insecure with my own sexuality and afraid, not knowing the rules or, what happens or anything like that. So, yeah, I missed out on that opportunity.
So,
Baby doll.
wait.
Maybe Doll has more questions.
Yes. I'm curious. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, if you had been in a different place, self-esteem wise and whatnot, since that's a big part of sex, right?
Yes.
Would you have done it?
Miss Kitty now has matured into this very
Lioness.
aggressive and possessive and emotional being. So sharing is not really my forte because I might end up kicking or punching someone off of my partner. So
No.
it wouldn't be a good
That's
situation.
a hell no.
It's mine. It's all mine.
I don't share.
I don't share. No, I heard that too.
Well, I have a question. If you were in a relationship with somebody else and you were pursuing this person, is it cheating if this person goes back to this person without you? Would you consider that cheating? I personally consider it cheating.
Me too. I'm going to have to weigh in and say, yeah.
I would weigh in and say yes as well, because it's situational. It's more like, yes, in this moment, I'm okay with doing this, but then you double dipped without my permission, which, not to sound possessive,
With the
but that is
rules.
something, right, there are boundaries.
If it's within the rules, then no. If it isn't within the rules, then yes. We will be right back after this commercial break. And we have a question right before we come that Baby Doll will answer when she gets back. is about her threesome. Was it with 2 guys, 2 girls, or just a couple?
All the dirty details.
All the-
Welcome back to another episode of Sex in the Dark. And tonight we are going to be talking about paranormal activities, all about relationships and different types of relationships. And if you have questions, go on to the chat section or the comment section under this post, and then definitely put your questions in there, and we will do our best to get them answered live. If you have other questions that you would like to ask privately or talk to someone on staff about, you can definitely reach them at 561-523-4589 or visit our website at www.monarchhealth.org. So, baby doll,
I believe you have some answers.
what was the makeup of your threesome? Inquiring minds want to know.
Wow. It was 2 separate occasions. One of
Not
them.
once, but twice.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
One was virtual, and that was very interesting. So does that count?
You had a virtual threesome?
Yes.
How do you do that?
Okay, do tell.
Please
Okay.
explain.
Can somebody pass me a pen?
I was just about to say that. Take some
I'm gonna
notes.
take notes.
You know, if you think about it, she was being safe. This is the era of COVID and social distancing.
Ooh.
So I really like this practice, and I'm interested in hearing more.
Yes. I mean, I will dish in that it was pre-COVID, but in general,
Trying to give you some credit.
yeah. Basically, it was this couple that I met online from Australia, and they were just these people, older kind of couple, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to just play?" And I was like, "Okay." I mean, it's virtual. I'm not physically doing anything, you know, and it's just fun because you're a little bit more explorative. So you grab a toy, and you know, it's in a way you're kind of just watching other people have sex. It was like I was watching porn, yeah, and participating myself, but they were watching me as well. So that was very, very different.
Exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
That's different.
It's different. It's different.
So
Would you recommend that for this COVID social distancing time frame, you know,
100%.
during the pandemic?
Yes,
It was
definitely.
fun. It was worth it. Most of all, it was safe.
Most of all, it was safe. And
Yeah.
a lot of my friends that I talk to now that are single, when they talk about Tinder dates, it's more like they're now virtual Tinder hookups, right? So a lot of them are just kind of having like FaceTime sex, and then that's it, instead of going through with the whole like meeting up and actually having sex. It's all virtual now. So it's interesting the direction that sex is taking right now.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You need the penetration.
Yeah, I need that.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, because there's so much intimacy in that. So it's like a little piece is missing, but for some people it really works.
Mental stimulation,
Yes.
stimulation.
There we go. So the second occasion, how was that?
I was a lot younger. It was awkward, honestly,
Okay.
because I had no idea what I was doing. And I was intoxicated, and I was in the backseat of a car, and there was a lot going on.
Fumbling around.
Fumbling around and just like, what? So I don't know that I would recommend it in the backseat of a car.
While it's driving?
No.
But I have a,
That's just dangerous. Yes.
I mean, somebody was driving, you know, somebody else in the backseat of the car.
Oh, I mean, So would you consider that a threesome if it was like 2 people in the back seat and one
No,
in the
that wouldn't be a
front?
threesome. That would be a voider.
Okay.
And it was men or women.
Men and women.
Okay.
Gotcha. So, out of all of these polyamorous threesome orgy situations, I mean, it's important that our listeners know that safe sex is the best sex. And the only way that they can engage in these types of relationships is by knowing their HIV status. So by coming to Monarch, they can get tested here, they can find out their results, and they can get treatment.
Yep.
It's like people don't even know that, that there's these wonderful agencies that do this work. And the most important thing,
First and foremost.
no glove, no love.
Also, we're located at 2580 Metro Center Boulevard, Suite 1, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33407, just west of the 95 on 45th Street. And we also have virtual visits. I have a question for you. Do you fantasize? You're getting a lot of questions
Yeah, a lot.
today, Miss
So
Kitty.
many.
Do you fantasize about being with other people?
Currently being in a relationship? Or just in general?
That's a very
Where do you
good
want to put it?
I think that I fantasize about, it's going to sound kind of weird, but I fantasize about the beginnings of my relationship because that's when it's like the most fun and passionate. So I think about those moments and like, the crazy times that we
That's
had.
sweet.
Yeah,
That's sweet. Usually there is the most romance involved when you're first courting a person or being courted.
right.
That's when the person is putting in the most
That's
effort.
why I just throw money at them.
Oh,
Romantic.
so sweet. As long as there's enough zeros at the end of
I'm
that
saying,
check, there
would you-
could be some
Yeah,
romance
when you come to
involved
the
in that.
bedroom, the bed's going to covered with $100 bills. And I'm just expecting you to just take it off and get right to it.
I find that very romantic.
Of course.
I will admit I do fantasize about other people as well, but involved in our relationship, like
Gotcha.
sexually, So I do fantasize about that as well.
Okay. Any of you else, what do you fantasize about?
Fantasize about? Honestly, it's kind of different.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
It's not the place to be shy.
Okay, so like you guys were asking her the same kind of question. Okay. I just want to make sure. I do fantasize about like aggressive,
Ooh.
like sex.
So you want to be like
That's like a
choked and
turn
things.
on for me. I do.
Grab
have
my
that
neck.
spark.
Ooh, push me up
I
against the
do.
wall.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Pin me down.
That kind of stuff.
That sounds fun.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I do fantasize about that kind of stuff. Like, if I could be anything, a dominatrix would be my thing.
Gotcha.
With their horns.
With the horns,
Do
yeah.
you, do you like a
that
little
with you.
choke?
And a little hair pull.
There we go. There we go.
Ooh.
Now, do you think there's any risk associated with being dominated or being
Yes.
a dominatrix?
Yes, I do. Because some people may not know their limits for pushing that aggression. That's why when you want to be aggressive, but you don't want nobody to be overly aggressive. And now you're like, all right, chill, But
Safe words.
yeah.
That's important.
Yeah, pineapples. Like we said,
Pineapples. Yes.
like we said earlier this week.
I like pineapples
So
rubbed against it before I smash it against my face.
Okay. Very interesting.
So, what do you fantasize about?
As Baby Doll was saying, the romance involved when relationships first start, it's so exciting. Especially before, you've engaged in sex with your partner. Kind of like the thoughts and the thrills of like what's leading up to like, oh, on this night it may happen, at this moment it may happen, after a phenomenal date, it may happen. Just kind of the wondering of when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, you know, what it's going to be like. That alone, I think, is just such a turn on.
Yeah, I agree.
It is a turn on.
It is. It really is, especially for women, I guess.
Yeah.
So the question is from the audience. What do you think about open relationships, and whether or not any one of the panelists are in an open relationship?
I don't think of open relationships. That's not me. I'm not a sharer. I don't do that. But I can honestly say when I was younger, I was in an open relationship without it being open. It was more so it was more so of me dealing with a cheater and knowing the girls that he's cheating with. And I was just like, but once I left him, it was just like, that never happened again.
I think most individuals have been in that unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even necessarily say that's open. It's just, you know,
Situational.
situational and infidelity, and nobody likes that. But what about a situation where maybe
you're making a choice?
Yeah.
No.
Never?
Never.
Okay.
Okay.
And do you think that's that dominatrix side?
That's definitely it.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
So an open relationship is not for everybody.
It's not.
And people have open relationships. Some people have open marriages. I mean, and the list goes on and on. So whatever you do decide to do in your relationship and with your body, you should at least be consenting to it and about it.
I agree with that. And
100%.
the thing about, I really like the argument of whether polyamory or monogamy, which one's natural, like which ones we supposedly kind of evolved from. And you'll hear arguments for both sides. It just depends on what you believe and your bias.
Yeah.
But I really do love the question, like, can you love two people at once? And does that mean that you love one less, or can you love two people equally?
I think you can, but you're always going to have a little bit more love for somebody else because they do that extra something for you.
That's why you bring both of them in the house.
Yeah.
You get a California king bed, and everybody sleeps comfortable.
So that sounds like one of those non-hierarchical types of polyamorous relationships where
Everybody's
everyone
equal.
is equal in the relationship. Everybody knows
Here's
about
what I
everybody.
think about that, though. Let's say we're in one of those poly situations.
All of us together,
Sure.
we're all polyamorous.
I know you would love that, right? All right, so I'm a zaddy, y'all.
Yes.
And I just can't help it. So let's say you were in that situation and
Sweet cheeks.
Sweet Cheeks went to work. Kitty Cat went to work. And me and Baby doll over there got it on. And now it's like, okay, fine, we just finished having sex, and Sweet Cheeks come home. And now she comes home because she's been fantasizing all day. She's like, oh, when I get home, I'm going to get some. And then she walk in, and we're like, oh, we just got done. We're going to take a shower and just relax.
Oh.
See, that's why I can't do that type of stuff. Because now you're too tired for me. No, I'm good.
And maybe that means that me and Sweet Cheeks together.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes may watch it or whatever. But we are going to go to a commercial break. And when we get back, we are going to talk about, can someone be raped while being in a relationship?
That's a tough topic.
Yes.
Hot topic.
See you right after this. Welcome back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're just joining the show, I want you to definitely invite a couple of friends, tag a couple of friends, and tell them to go on and like our page. Please, 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 please go on and like the Monarch Health Services Facebook page. Like and share, invite some friends. We have plenty of quality content that comes out on a regular basis, and you don't want to miss none of it. And if you haven't seen any other night of Sex in the Dark, we want you to go back and check out this week. We have stuff every single night. And if you need healthcare services, free HIV testing, STD screening, access to treatment, care, and we have virtual visits and in-person visits, definitely go to our website at www.monarchhealth.org or call us at 561-523-4589. Now, we were just about to dive into, can you be raped in your relationship, right? So you're married, you don't want to give it up that night. Anybody seen that scene from Ike and Tina?
From who?
When Ike and Tina, when he grabbed her and pushed her up against the counter and like just basically had just like choked her out a little bit and just kind of like just did her right in.
Had his way with her.
Had his way.
And just, right, he just like, I'm gonna get this nookie, and just had his way with her, and then just kind of like walked away. And that look that he gave, right? Because you can tell like she didn't necessarily consent to it, but they were married. So like, how many people are having like sex when they don't feel like it, and then it's kind of like forced on them because the guy wants it, so or the girl wants it, so they feel like they have to do it or they have no choice in doing it.
So we're talking about non-consensual sexual relationships within
your partnership.
Wow.
That's deep because some people don't see it as rape mentally. They're just like, whatever, I'm just going to do it. They don't see it as, oh, he actually raped me. Some people think, well, I'm married to him, so I guess.
They feel obligated to do
Yeah.
so. I'm going to say yes. I do think that rape is a very real thing within relationships just because it's that perspective of ownership. Like, well, this is my partner, therefore it's my body, therefore I can do whatever I want to it, which I don't agree with that. And one of my former roommates in college, she was dating this guy, and they were pretty serious. And one night she wakes up because he had spent the night. Mind you, she was like 2 rooms over from me because we lived in the same apartment. And I didn't even know this was happening, but she wakes up and he's having sex with her. She woke up to him inside of her.
Wow.
Yes, and I remember the next morning he left and she was like, "Hey, let me talk to you." And I was like, "Yeah, of course. What's up?" And I was just like, "Wait, what? Like, what do you mean you woke up and he was just having sex with you?" And she was like, "Yeah, but when I said something, I was like, 'What are you doing?' He was like, I'm having sex. Like, we're having sex. You're my girlfriend. So what?" Like, very dismissive of the whole
Like
situation.
nonchalant, like, you're my girl. This is supposed to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And that's the problem, that some people really don't believe that they're doing something wrong.
Right.
And they really think that they're obligated to it.
But
And
is
they're
that
not.
really a sense of ownership on one person's end? Or is that more so, and I don't want to stigmatize or shame anyone for their ability to speak up and say, "No, get off of me, I'm tired, leave me alone."
Some people feel like they can't say no.
Yeah.
I'm sure one of my hoes want to say no, but they can't. Get out. Leave all the dollars on the bed.
Come back later, maybe.
Come back later.
When you're ready.
We'll work it out at
Right.
half the price.
Oh my goodness.
You're so silly.
I think that also, if you look at, committed relationships, maybe marriages as well, if a partner is turned down for that sexual encounter, is there a possibility that they could feel rejected in the relationship as if they're not desired?
Yes and no. I feel like if somebody says no, you can have sex the next night. It's not an obligation to have sex right now. Okay, regardless of if you're married, relationship.
Not if you don't want the blue balls.
Okay, if you don't want the blue balls, you got a handyman.
I like that.
You know what I
So
mean?
what the hell you in the bed for?
Kamala.
Kamala.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the, for me personally, if you feel rejected, then that's just your own self-esteem that you need to work on, because we've been together for how long? And the one time I say no, now you feel rejected, that's just your insecurities of yourself, not me.
Okay, so I have a question. So, your partner goes to sleep because I'm tired and I want to have sex. But you're nice and ready to go. And so you start jerking off. And then they wake up and see you jerking off. And then they get mad because you didn't want to wait.
Should they feel
Should
offended?
they feel offended?
Are they entitled to
They
feel
can-
anything?
To me, I don't care.
Like, do
If
whatever
I'm not
you
in the
gotta
mood,
do.
I'm not in the mood.
But should they be
me
feel
seeing you,
somewhere?
maybe me seeing you jerk off, maybe turned me on, and now we can actually get it on.
I can see that.
Yes.
But
That's
if
true.
they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're jerking off while I'm sleeping, and then they're like all mad and vexed and be like, well, you didn't want to get raped,
You
did you?
missed out.
Right.
You missed out.
But that's just like the complexities of relationships, because you have so many relationships where that's totally normal, where you're like, okay, go ahead, masturbate, I don't really care. And then you have relationships that are completely absent of sex, because you have people and couples that just don't practice sex, that they feel love on a different wavelength, and you know that's
Asexual relationships, right?
Yeah.
exactly, and those are like, that's paranormal. That's oh, I've never heard of that before. It's not something that's as common necessarily, but I just think that you can't box up sex like that.
No.
You know, because also, what if the person doesn't want to have sex because they have so much on their mind, right? Like they're just crazy stressed that they can't even think about anything. They can't enjoy that moment. They would be doing you a disservice, right? To try and entertain you, and then halfway, you know, they're limp, and then you get really offended. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
you're not
like,
turned on.
what's
Like,
wrong?
oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's
You
true.
can't get it up.
Right,
Yeah, it's true.
right. There's no shame in that. We're
Then I gotta
people.
call 2 more dates over.
Wow. So in that case, that's basically where it's the emotional connection that feeds the soul, from what I'm understanding.
Yes.
And it's not required that any sort of sexual exchange even happens in the relationship. And that makes me think about, not to stigmatize older generations. As we know, women's libido goes up after the age of, I believe, 50. And so
and
not
men
to...
got Viagra?
Yeah, and men have their Viagra. But once you kind of get past that, it makes me wonder about, you know, let's say the 70 plus, you know, age range.
Oh, it's still possible.
Lots of pleasure.
It's not that it's not possible, but do you think there's more asexual relationships where it's just that true companionship? Like, oh, you've been my spouse for 30 years. You're my best friend.
No, that's
I know you.
companionship. That's
But do
more,
you think
that's
any
more-
sex is going on in those relationships?
When it comes, see, companionship is one of those situations where
Because
it's
if
like,
I just got my hip replaced,
right, no.
I don't know that
But
I can throw
but-
it back.
True that. And I think that's what the component of monogamous relationship really brings, is that as you age together, you develop, you become friends and then become companions. And so you get to a place where your connection, like sex is like one of the least important things that you would even think about, because you're thinking about, like, you're more concerned about the person you're with, and you're more concerned about their safety and them just being here and sharing those moments.
Having
That
someone to
sex,
die with.
you can rub your earlobe,
Kind
honey,
of
and
morbid.
still get off. You'll be like this, rubbing your earlobes, and still kind of like get your rocks off and be like, oh, that was awesome. Like, it's just moments. Companionship is like a whole different thing unto itself. So it's like a next level of mental thinking.
But I think that's the assumption, is that, like, oh, senior sex is weird, or it's not happening, or it's
not.
gross.
A lot of it happens.
Senior sex is real, folks.
Yes,
Yes.
I've seen it
And-
happen. I worked at a place where they were Alzheimer's though. The guy, his wife was in the independent living. He was in Alzheimer's unit, and the other lady, she had dementia, and he was ready. And I went in there. I was like, "You guys have to stop." He was like, "Get out of here!"
Oh,
and his
wow.
thing was just hanging, and I was just like, "Ah!" I said, "Can you please, like, you can't be in
You
here
ask
with
for
her."
some?
He did ask for some, and I was just like, "No."
Wow.
My man.
But I think even, there's the association that senior sex is safe, and that's not the case. Like STIs and STDs, have shown increase in older generations because of, pills like Viagra and such. So are they
And these-
needing to use condoms still?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
And should they be coming in still? I mean,
Of
routine
course.
STI, STD testing?
Of course.
So any seniors,
Anyone.
if you're out there, if you're listening, and if you're still hitting it, bring yourself on into Monarch Health Services. We're located at 2580 Metro Center Boulevard, Suite 1, here in West Palm Beach, Florida. You can call us and schedule an appointment at 561-523-4589.
Whether you have sex once a year, twice a year, or a couple times a year,
Or just sex.
definitely need to get checked. At least once a year.
Right.
At least.
And plus, for people who are like having a whole bunch of sex and a whole bunch of different partners like myself, you can get on PrEP. PrEP is a once daily pill you take every day to prevent you from getting HIV. And you know what they have a lot of at Monarch? Is PrEP. So,
And condoms.
and condoms.
Free condoms.
Free.
So
For
you
real.
can come in, talk to one of the experts here, and get situated real quickly. And you can have your prescription delivered to you, or you can pick it up. And you can do your visits virtually, and you can come in person. I mean, it's really flexible, and it's based on you. And I can tell you, because I have holes in different area codes, I stay on my PrEP game.
There you go.
All right?
Speaking of hoes and different area codes, I keep thinking about what you said, non-hierarchical polyamorous relationships. Can you dive in? What is that? Is there more to that?
Oh, there's definitely more. So, from my understanding, it's when there is a multiple party relationship, and within this party, let's take ourselves as an example. Sweet Cakes and Zaddy and Baby Doll, neither of you would kind of take a higher ranking position than the other. You are all equal. You all have the same, portion of my heart. So there's no value on one person more so than the other.
Regardless of when you started in the relationship. So it's not
Correct.
like, oh, we're together first and now you come second, so you're in a lesser position now. It's
But then there's others. There's polyfidelity. So meaning that, Sweet Cheeks, you mentioned, the possibility of watching, your husband be dominated, whether that's dominated by you or dominated by someone else. That would be the example of polyfidelity. And then there is hierarchical polyamory, which is just having a primary relationship and having a secondary relationship. So kind of like having a little something, something on the side, but all parties have been open and aware. So Zaddy, I'm sorry, if you're away in another area code and Kitty's needs need to get met,
Need to be pet.
yeah, you might give me permission or I might give myself permission, but it's openly discussed that, the needs have to be fulfilled.
So are the details openly discussed as well? Like, would you tell Zaddy everything? Would you be like, I met here with him at this time, or her at this time?
depending on the relationships. There are some relationships where that is definitely on the table, and then there are some relationships where it's just like, oh, I had somebody and just keep it moving.
So what do you think is more common, though? Do you think
I think
in
a lot
those
of people are
situations-
talking about it. And so, you know, one of my other wealthy friends, they talk about they shit all the time. And what end up happening is when they're doing the talk back, the other partner starts getting aroused, and then they start doing it. So it has a whole sexual factor to the tell back of like when you meet this person, what you did, how you did it, and what you feel, and all this other stuff, and that can lead to them having threesomes and orgies with those individuals too.
So we're going to get back to primary and secondary relationships after this next commercial. To primary and secondary relationships, and we just had a caller to ask us a question about how do you ask your partner for an open relationship, or how would you ask your partner, you know, if they wanted to be a part of a secondary relationship. Has anybody ever been in one of those types of situations?
I'm going to pass.
Okay. I don't know that it should be something that is extremely uncomfortable, as long as I think people express, you know, their feelings and desires, and there's a true sense of need that is not being fulfilled maybe in that primary relationship, in order to keep the primary and have a secondary. But do I think it's something where people just, you know, want to randomly hook up and have multiple partners on the side? That's where it gets, you know, into a side situation instead of the hierarchical polyamory. What do you think?
I don't know how to ask because I wouldn't, but but I mean, I guess you could probably maybe if you like mention it in like a joke form. If it was me, I would mention it into like a joke form, see how they take the joke, or if they feel comfortable about it.
Okay, let me throw something at you then. Hypothetically, if you were in a relationship and your partner was really great at one thing, right? And that one thing was amazing, but you wish they could be a little bit better at this other thing. And so you approach them and you tell them, you know, you're so good at this one thing. How about we try and we improve, you know, this other thing. But despite how much trying, you know, there's just no meeting that need. And so you approach them and you say, look, I need, you know, to be smacked, choked, whatever. And it's a part of my desires that help fulfill me sexually. And, you know, I need someone to meet them. And we've tried. Would you be open to expressing it maybe in that way? Like, hey, it's a sexual need.
Well, yeah, of course, that's a great way to express it, but it may come off as, I need somebody else. And you don't want to come off as that because you still love them. They're just not meeting that one need.
And that is so much pressure for that one person to meet every need to check off. And that's
this sounds like a porn that I've seen recently. Where, you know, it's like a couple, and then they bring some other person in, and the lady was just getting pounded, and she was like, and the guy was like, is that what you want? Like, he was all fully clothed just watching his wife getting pounded by the guy. And he's like, oh, you just love that, right? And then she was like, oh, well, I want to see you lick it and blah, 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 because now she was, like, touching herself, and she wanted to be turned on by, like her husband being vulnerable to this guy. And I mean, he did. And I was, in my head, I was like, whoa.
Mind blown.
Yes.
You know, but I think that, some people will do whatever it takes to keep their relationship happy. And so some people, that's not a problem for others, while others will have objections.
Yeah.
I think that all conversations should be talked about. And whether or not it goes into doing it or not doing it, like at least still be able to at least communicate about it. But what that end up doing is that it leave like this lingering uncomfortable feeling in the back of like unresolved once the conversation comes up. If the person, your partner might feel like, oh, so now I gotta watch her because like she trying to cheat on me, like, or attitudes and things might change. So I think it's tough to gauge, but
Well,
if it's
another
important
way to
to
do
you,
it.
then it should.
I think there's another way to do it while engaging in intercourse. Give instructions.
Yes.
Like, pull my hair. If he's not a hair puller, like, pull my hair or
Talk
pull
to me
my
dirty.
toe. Talk to me dirty. Say this. You know what I mean?
So-
and then they start engaging and they realize it turns you on. They'll start doing it more often.
Right.
Yeah.
They will.
So it's like
Yeah.
giving him the idea without giving him or her the idea without actually like.
But in sexual relationships, I mean, it's almost like this unsaid thing where people assume that you know what they want.
Right.
Right.
And they assume that you know how to fulfill their desires. But in all actuality, unless you're having those
Agreed.
conversations and saying, I am really into S&M, or I am really into being, talked dirty to, then how's your partner going to know to fulfill that need and that desire? And then that goes into the stimulation part of it, because sex does not just begin at whatever form of penetration. It could go on earlier in the day. Maybe you get a steamy text message or that phone call.
That's foreplay.
And then, yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
And it
foreplay.
change over time. So what you start out doing may change over time. So you might get to a place where, maybe you like that you didn't have a care in the world about getting choked up and stuff. And then a couple of years went by and now you want to be choked up. And then a couple of years from now you want to be tied up, and then maybe a couple of years from now you don't want none of that stuff. So things change sometimes, and I think a healthy relationship will kind of adjust and grow with that. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, to be just running around trying to do this, but you and your partner at least be able to have those conversations. So we did have a question from the audience.
And I think it was about honesty, intimacy, and security.
Well, it was yes. So what if you talk about having a threesome with your partner, and then your partner starts liking the other person more?
That's where that honesty, intimacy, and security comes into play, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about communication. If your
Exactly.
partner starts to want to engage with the other participant, then maybe there's a part of that conversation that wasn't had. And there's that level of transparency that needs to be peeled back and talked about,
I think so.
And maybe it's just as simple as, baby doll really fulfilled my needs in this way, and maybe we can try that.
Right.
So that way it's not a constant need for me to run back to baby
But
doll.
then the person's gonna start to feel insecure, like
Because
is
they
she
need
gonna
to
go
be-
back, and you start to
Yes.
think, oh, is he? What if he does this with somebody else?
And then
Or
you
doesn't
compare
or
yourself.
even
Then now
when you're
becomes-
having sex, the mind is going to be like, well, is she thinking about that other person
too.
Yeah,
doing
even
her
after.
or whatever?
Yeah.
Right. And I think also it's really important to evaluate, well, what was happening before all this happened? Like, what was our relationship like even beforehand? Were there things missing in our relationship?
Was it starting to sour?
Was it starting to sour, There is, this situation that I'm going to propose is a little bit different, but I can't remember where I saw this, but it was a show, and it was a lesbian couple, and they were just a little bit dry, they just weren't having sex. They loved each other really much, but they had been together for so long, and so they proposed the situation, why don't we bring in a third person? Someone else, let's just like mix it up a little bit. So they do, they have a good time, and then afterwards that completely rekindled their relationship. And then the other person wanted to be with them again, and they're like, no, goodbye. Go, like, we're done. We, you know.
You served your purpose.
Exactly.
Be gone.
Well, I also feel like when you're starting a relationship, with my relationship, we did a thing where it was like 21 questions, like in the beginning.
Oh, I like.
So we started asking like little questions here and there. First they were like small little questions, what's your favorite color, this and that. And then they started getting like deeper, and it went from 21 questions to like 100 questions.
To the raunchy.
Yeah, to the real nasty. So it's like we kind of like ended up figuring out what we liked
That's
through
good.
that.
And that's such a lighthearted way of doing it too. It doesn't always have to be such a serious, like, okay, so what do you like? Okay, like, I can do that for you. It can just be like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it was
that's
just
good.
a little fun thing.
Because a lot of times, too, people say they want to have a particular type of relationship, but they don't want to put the work in to have that relationship. And a lot of what we're talking about here today, it takes work. Whether it's a monogamous relationship, a polyamorous relationship, or whatever type of relationship, it does take work and communication. So if you're going to be in any of those relationships, you definitely have to make sure that you're willing to put in the work. In addition to that, you have to communicate. And if you're not communicating effectively, then obviously you're going to miss the mark as well. And if you don't know how you want to be loved and what you need sexually, and you're unable to express that to your partner, then how are you going to be able to know when you're getting it, know when it's not, when you're not, and if not, how are you going to be able to tell them how? So if I like to be loved a particular way, I must be able to communicate that and say, here's how I like to be loved.
Knowing yourself.
Right.
Knowing your needs.
And too many times people don't, you know, they don't have a sexual experience, they have sex.
Right.
Yep, that's true.
Anyone can put it in.
Flip
And
it,
then you
whatever you need.
and then you
Flip it.
you know, you come and then you're done. But did you get stimulated in all your senses? Did
Right.
you have any kind of like sexual experience that when you're done, you look back and it's not just about you being penetrated. It's about like, how did you feel? How did, you know, your emotions, your feelings, your this, your that. If you can think back and remember the first time when you had sex and you were done and you go, oh, you remember your breath, you remember your grasp, your gasp, you remember how you felt when you were orgasming and when you kind of, and if you think about that, if you go back to that moment, you'll realize that that was not your first time when you had sex. So think about that. How do you want to be loved?
And I think that's so true because I remember in my last relationship when we broke up, a couple weeks went by and I was, my friends and I, we got this hotel, like this nice Airbnb in Miami in downtown, and we went to a concert, and I remember that night afterwards we went to a club and I met this guy and I was like, you know what, I just want that like feeling right now. So we hooked up, but I know for a fact that it was just a hookup because even after that I was like, okay, like that was it. Because did I really get any pleasure from that? And I didn't. Or any fulfillment. I didn't. It was just a need for that. Like it was an urgency
that moment.
at that moment. And it was a mutual thing. It was understood. And that was that, you know?
So you have to know your wants,
Right.
know your desires,
Yeah.
know what fulfills you. Most of all, it's about staying safe in whatever
Yes.
sexual relationship you're in.
Yep.
So we want to remind all of our listeners and all of our audience and everyone who's tuning in to come in and see us. We're at Monarch Health Services, 2580 Metro Center Boulevard, Suite 1, right here in West Palm Beach, Florida. And you can call us at 561-523-4589. We really want to thank you. And Zaddy, take it away.
Listen, baby doll, you coming?
This has been a great week for us. Joining us for Sex in the Dark. We can't thank you enough, and we hope you come see us soon. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Bye-bye.